Yes, indeed. Mark, good evening, everyone. Later, Jack the Ripper revealed. But first, in Australia, we think we've got some pretty good gun laws. The Port Arthur massacre saw to that. Nothing like the US where just about anyone can carry a gun. But you'd be wrong. There's a crazy loophole in our gun laws allowing anyone to get hold of lethal handguns. And it's demonstrated in dramatic fashion in our very own CBD. Rodney Lose explains.
It really is a national security issue, and it should be changed by the national and state governments.
There's nothing stopping history repeating itself.
Next year marks 20 years since one of the most defining moments in Australian history.
Helicopters began ferrying the injured to Hobart from Port Arthur after a gunman opened fire there this afternoon.
The Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania saw 35 people killed and 23 wounded by gunman Martin Bryant. It led to nationwide changes to gun laws. Laws which today see Australia held up as a shining example of what strong regulation can do every time there is a mass shooting overseas.
I know Australians are so proud of what we believe to be really protective laws around guns that unfortunately are very quietly being pared back.
And that paring back is costing lives, according to criminal lawyer Michelle Fernando. All because of a loophole that cost her father his life.
Experiencing any kind of tragedy, I think, it's just a profound experience that never leaves you. A day doesn't go by that I don't miss my dad, have great sorrow that his beautiful life ended the way that it did.
But her father's death was a double tragedy because her father's killer was her mentally ill sister, a diagnosed schizophrenic.
She was able to walk out of a pistol club with a pistol that had been lent to her to use at the club. There was no security at that club. She walked out of the club with a pistol and 30 rounds of ammunition, and about 2 hours later, she shot and killed my father, who she had a whole lot of delusions about.
That was 5 years ago, and yet all over the country, pistol ranges and gun clubs operate under the same laws which allow pretty much anyone to walk off the street and put their hands on guns, including semi-automatic pistols.
They aren't toys. Toys are the plastic things that you can buy from toy shops that shoot darts, not bullets that kill people.
And it may surprise people to know in the heart of Adelaide on Franklin Street, almost anyone can get access to a firearm. 2 weeks ago, a man from Norwood did just that and shot himself. It's now the third suicide at Marksman Indoor Firing Range in 6 years.
Sadly, I'm not surprised that there's been another tragedy in a pistol club, because our laws are just not protecting the community. They're not protecting some of the most vulnerable people in our community.
The South Australian coroner is yet to decide whether there will be an inquest into this latest death. But he did investigate the previous 2 shootings here in 2011, and he made recommendations in an effort to prevent self-inflicted gun deaths at the range.
Install suitable tethering and/or bulletproof screening for use by persons who are not the holder of a firearms licence or member of a club.
4 years on, that recommendation was never made law, nor was it implemented by Marksman, which blames bureaucratic delays. They declined to be interviewed, but issued this statement.
On our own accord, we developed tethering technology in 2012 and have been seeking approval from the Registrar of Firearms since that time to alter our licence so we can install these devices. We cannot install the tethers without the approval of the Registrar.
But it may be too late, with calls now to have the range shut down.
I think it's weird to have a shooting gallery anywhere, really. I said before it shouldn't be in the CBD, but on reflection, I think it really shouldn't be anywhere. This isn't like a gun club where people have a licence and acting as a sport. This is using handguns for recreation.
Adelaide City Councillor Anne Moran says while marksman is a legal business, she believes it's time the law was changed, so it wasn't.
I think that there would have to be legislation enacted to get rid of these sort of businesses, and that would probably come from the state.
Until that happens, groups like Gun Control Australia say suicides will go unchecked.
A person with a mental illness couldn't shoot someone unless they had access to a firearm.
Gun Control Australia Director Samantha Lee says the Port Arthur-led firearms laws are being slowly picked apart.
For example, everyone was required to have a gun licence before owning or possessing a firearm in Australia. However, over time, a successful pro-gun lobby group has watered down the laws so that any member of the public can now walk into a gun club, get access to a firearm and start training.
Aside from suicide, she says there is another reason easy access to these gun clubs are a concern.
To give you a grave example, Man Monis, who committed the Lint Cafe siege, could have gone into any gun club, commenced training in regards to firearms, and no one would have detected it because there are no tests done to ascertain whether he would have had a criminal background, any domestic violence issues, or any mental health issues going on.
Organisations like the Sporting Shooters Association say suicides in places like Marksman are not a gun control issue, but rather a mental health issue. But that doesn't wash with gun control advocates.
I want them gone from the state. It has no place in our society.